Yeah, I'm calling that game on September 11th between the Titans and the Giants the Nephilim Super Bowl. Seems fitting since for the past number of years, Satan has been the halftime coordinator and producer of those shows. So it doesn't surprise me that the two Nephilim teams are meeting on the first regular season Sunday of the 2022 season. Now, if you missed the previous video, this is really going to be part two of the dream that Lori had. And a number of people have said, well, I went to the comment section and I couldn't find Lori's comment about her dreams. And I've had the same experience too, going there and I go, where are they? So when I would go to the filter on the comments and click on newest first, they seem to show up then at that point. I don't know what's going on. I hear people all the time say, hey, my comment is missing. Believe me when I tell you, I'm not taking your comments down. I think I've taken down 2 comments in 3 years, and those were 2 people who came on and were being incredibly arrogant and seemed to have an agenda. I did take them off, but I don't take off people's comments, even if I completely disagree with it. If I think it's their honest opinion, I let it stand. Anyway, I have copy and pasted her dream in the description box of this video if you have trouble finding it on the previous video. This video is not going to make much sense to anybody unless you watch that one. I'm not going over the material. Watch the first one, come back and watch this, because there's been some updates. I'm not trying to milk this thing. I'm trying to be responsible and do the right thing. This is, as far as I'm concerned, unless God gives more information through somebody or directly or however he does it, I'm not going to be talking about this event on September 11th until after it happens. If God gives me some more information, I'll pass it on to you. And by the way, if you do go back and look at the comment section of the previous video, take a look at Sandra's experience. It's a new comment. She had a very interesting experience as well. It doesn't deal with necessarily what we're going to be talking about today, but I think you'll find it very interesting as well. The update. Well, number one, a number of people. The first one I saw was from Jim and then Joe, and then a number of other people commented about my confirmation about the video. Remember, I had asked God for confirmation if I should do a video on her dream. And later that morning, I saw the word Titan, big as life. If I'd taken a couple of more steps, I would have never been able to see it. But as I was right even with that car, I looked down, our vehicle rather, and saw the word Titan. I didn't know who made the Titan pickup truck. I was going to check, but never did. I'm glad I didn't. Because when people came forward and said, hey, do you know this? And it was kind of a wow moment for me because, as it turns out, Nissan makes the Titan pickup truck. Nissan is also the name of the stadium where the Titans will take on the Giants. It's at Nissan Stadium in Tennessee, Nashville. Another little coincidence. It's funny. If after I had asked God for confirmation, if someone had come up to me and said, would you accept this as confirmation? That later this morning, he's going to show you a word that not only ties in to Lori's dream, it will also tie into the stadium where the game is played. I would have said, well, yeah, I'll take that as confirmation. But when it happens, I'm not so sure. Isn't that funny? I'm still going, it could still just be a coincidence. What do I expect him to do when I ask for confirmation? Send an angel to my front door with an affidavit signed by God, stand, do the video. It's pretty good confirmation. And while we're on that subject, let me make sure you understand this as we go forward today. He is not giving confirmation to my interpretation. I asked him for confirmation about the dream. Did you give her that dream? I need confirmation before I make a video on it. That's what he's confirming. So my interpretation could be dead wrong and Lori's dream still be authentic, okay? Now, before I get to the actual content of the video that I want to show you, I bet you a lot of you were also wondering, well, does Nissan have some sort of meaning? I mean, they make the truck. It's going to be at the stadium. They bought the rights to the naming rights of the stadium where the game is going to be played. Is there something there too? Well, I looked into it, and as it turns out, Nissan is a combination of the last names of the two guys who founded the car company, the first three letters of each of their last names. NIS for one, SAN for the other, Nissan. So it appeared to be a dead end. Then last night, right before dinner, and dinner consisted of a salad and vegetables with a side of cottage cheese. Why such an unexciting meal? Because my annual physical is in a couple of weeks, and I always do this. It's like cramming for the exam. Really being good for 30 days prior to my, physical is hopefully going to make up for my spotty nutritional behavior in the previous 12 months. But fear not, this is waiting right after that's over. I've already bought it. It's up on the top of the refrigerator where I can see it. It's like a little orange and blue beacon. Hang in there. Hang in there. Just a few more days. May take it with me to the doctor's appointment. Start eating them in the car on the way back. So right before dinner, I was sitting there and I was thinking Nissan. Nissan, for some reason, it sounds like a Greek word I know or have heard, or a Hebrew word I know or heard. So I jumped on the computer and I found that it is a Hebrew word. One less S, Nisan, is a Hebrew month. I went, of course, I forgot. It's the first month in the Hebrew calendar, Nissan, and that's how you pronounce it, right?
Strong's H, 5212. Nissan.
First month. What does that mean? Couldn't think of anything. And then I thought, well, it's got to have, that word has got to have a meaning. Well, what would we transliterate it as? So I went to the Blue Letter Bible. Now, when I saw what I'm about to show you, my initial thought was, don't show them. Don't show them. They don't need to know this. I don't want to gin people up beyond what I'm trying to accomplish here. I'm not talking about the R word related to the dream she had. Now, when the new moon gets here on the 25th, a possible start date for the Feast of Trumpets, okay, now I'm back on it. Then I thought, no, I don't want to be like the government, know something and keeps it from the people. I hate that. Like I said in our last video, we're all big boys and girls. So let me show you the Blue Letter page of Nissan and what it basically, its meaning is, their flight. So you do with that whatever you're going to do with that. I'm to the point now where I can't separate coincidences from confirmations and clues and hints. It seems now at this point there's just too many coincidences. Could there be one or two in here maybe? I don't know, folks, but it's starting to look like September 11th should be a very high watch date. But what are we watching for? What exactly is it that we're watching for? If you're looking for the R word, fine. I've said repeatedly, I believe it could happen at any time with a special emphasis on Feast of Trumpets. But it could happen at any time. So I'm not going to talk about it, but you're certainly welcome to. And I bet you, from the way I read Lori's description of her dream, she thinks it may be a part of that day. I think that's what she's saying. Anyway, he is showing us the Nephilim. They're clearly up front. He wants us to see. Not that it's an NFL game, it's of no importance to him. Well, if it is, it's no more important than your daughter or son's pee-wee soccer practice. I mean, he is showing us that he's talking about that day, and it has something to do with the Nephilim. Now, in the last video, I hesitated of tying that to the Antichrist, and here's why. Because I just never really thought about the Antichrist being Nephilim. I always thought about him being a fallen angel. And then I was thinking, well, why do I think that? Why exactly do I think that? And when you realize there are a lot of references to this Assyrian, this Antichrist figure, but not a lot of detail. I mean, we still have prophecy teachers who are swearing up and down that it's going to be someone from Islam. And we have others saying, no, it's going to be Jewish. No, it's going to be European. No, it's going to be homosexual. No, he's going to pretend to be an alien. I mean, we have all these theories because we know he's going to be powerful. We know he's going to be persuasive, but who exactly is he? And so this past week, I just happened to be listening to a 4 or 5 part interview with Ryan Pitterson. Has all the academic credentials you would ever want, who's written a book called The Final Nephilim, or Nephilim. And he claims that the Antichrist is going to be Nephilim. Now, what confused me is that I've always heard theologians, not all of them, 1 or 2 here or there, say that the Nephilim don't have souls. And that's why they're not in Tartarus with the fallen angels in the bottomless pit. They travel the world looking for bodies to control and that kind of a thing. Is that really a fact, though? Are they saying something that's an opinion and they're presenting it as fact? Well, what if Nephilim are in there, in the abyss, in the bottomless pit? Ryan Pitterson makes a very good point. His point is that to sit on the seat of David or to be king of the earth, you have got to be of human lineage. And that's why we see Christ's ancestry there clearly. He has the right to sit on David's throne. He is the Son of Man while also being the Son of God, but he is fully human and fully deity at the same time. It's unbelievable. That's why he's the one of a kind. The monogeneous, if I got that word right.
Strong's G 3439, monogenes.
Wasn't even close.
Monogenes.
Can either be interpreted as one of a kind or the only begotten. Well, this is going to be, from Satan's standpoint, of course, a copycat of that. If Satan didn't need the human lineage, he could do it himself, but he doesn't. The dragon gives power to the Antichrist. And when he gives power to the Antichrist, I always thought it was kind of like he imbued him with power, when in fact it may be hereditary power. He has power because he's the offspring of the dragon. He comes with that as part of his parentage and ancestry. That's a real possibility. Now, here's what I want to show you, and it begins on the 3rd line, 3 lines, 3 witness lines. And it's interesting that the 3rd line that deals with Satan and the Antichrist and the beast system and all of that, that's the longest. That comprises more chapters of the book of Revelation than God's line or man's line. It's a lot of activity going on in that line. That line of events begins perfectly with the Revelation 12 sign, which we may have seen a depiction of on September 23rd, 2017. What's next in that line of events? Well, it's war in heaven with Satan being thrown out of heaven and down to the earth. So let me ask you a question. Do you have high confidence in your answer, if I asked you, has that event happened? Has Satan been thrown to earth? It's a tough one for me. And I've, did some research this past week, and there is no general consensus that I could find where an overwhelming number of theologians and scholars believe yes or believe no. I'm not sure. I think there's been a strange and significant increase in evil over the last few years. Would we even know if that event took place? Would we know? Would it manifest itself in some way where we would go, oh man, something big just happened? I'm not sure. My guess is most of you will say that you believe it has happened. And I think I'm leaning in that direction myself. Now, the dragon, Satan, the devil, he's not Nephilim. He's pure fallen angel. So if God is pointing us to something that involves the Nephilim, it probably isn't this event, this war in heaven with Satan being thrown out of heaven. But it might be the very next event, which is this. John standing by the sea when he sees the beast rise out of the water. Now, I don't want to make this video too sensational, but the fact of the matter is, what I'm trying to get across to you is, are so many events that have to take place from chapter 12 through the seventh bowl of wrath, which is the day of the Lord, in that line, that event line, that third line. It's just chapter after chapter after chapter. And I also, when you see him rising out of the sea in chapter 13, don't take that as he's now in control of everything. There is going to be a process, I believe, a process of him arriving on the scene. At some point, he's got to have the fatal wound to the head, and he eventually takes over. What John is seeing is the beginning of that process. And what I'm trying to tell you is that process contains so many events and so many moving parts and so many things that have to be accomplished. It has got to start pretty soon. If we are anywhere close to end times, that third line has got to get going because it has so much to accomplish, so many evil things, and then God's response to it. Is that what the dream is pointing to? Is God saying on September 11th, which may be Christ's birthday, I know a lot of you have pointed that out, that this arrives? I don't know, but it's one of the things we should be looking for. My interpretation could be completely wrong. What I suggest for all of us, including me, head on a swivel, as they say in sports, be looking for anything that could be the answer, the correct answer to her dream. I'm just pointing out something because that something, that rising out of the sea, has got to happen soon if we truly are in end times. And I should point out that Lori's dream right before the announcement of the Nephilim, the Titans against the giants, was all about water. She was submerged in water. It was all about water, and then it quickly changed to the Nephilim. Is that another tie-in? Don't know. But don't expect necessarily that there's going to be a news break in the middle of whatever you're watching on that day. You probably won't be watching the Giants Titans unless you have Sunday Ticket on DirecTV, because it's not going to be a nationally televised game, and I'm not sure anything spectacular is going to happen in that game. He's just pointing out that the world is clamoring for the Nephilim. They love the Nephilim. Astronomers can't wait to name moons and planets and things in outer space after them. I saw a news article that was about a huge management group, banker investment banker group. And they were doing something new, and it made big news, headline news, and whatever I was reading. And I don't care about business news, but it was so big it actually made it in to the report that I was reading. And they called themselves Apollo Money Management Fund or something like that. Apollo. They love them. They love them. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, if I was in that room, and I assume that most investment bankers have no idea about fallen angels and Nephilim, but if someone had said, if we were founding that group, that money management group, and someone said, how about Apollo Money Management Fund? I would have stood up and said, what are we, in the 5th grade? Why don't we call it Spider-Man Money Management Fund for credit? Apollo? But it seemed completely reasonable to all those educated, driven men and women who were founding that company. Yeah, I like it. Apollo, let's take a vote on it. Apollo it is. There's something about the Nephilim that this world loves. Well, they're about to get a big old spoonful of it. And it may begin on September 12th. We'll have to be watching and see. But only he could persuade me not to be watching carefully on September 11th. I may have said September 12th during this video when I meant September 11th. I've got that on my mind for some reason. September 11th is what I'm referring to. And it's right around the corner. This will be gone by then. But I'll still be watching. I don't want to make this too sensational. At the same time, I don't want to underplay it. I want to strike the right tone. But too many coincidences are coming in for me to just go, can't do that. God bless you. God bless you all. We'll talk after September 11th.
Monogenes.
I know.